Me and my friend were at a Chinese restaurant. We ordered a General Tso's chicken dinner and a shrimp lo mein dish. When we sat down, we took out both boxes and set them on the table about 2 feet apart. My friend opens the first box and we see a shrimp lo mein dish. It has all the things in there: noodles, shrimp, fried rice. He closes the box and opens the other box. Inside that box is another shrimp lo mein dish. Shrimp, noodles, fried rice. Oh, I think they must have mixed up the order. I was just about to say this when my friend says out loud, "Looks like they made a mistake and gave us 2. As he opens up the first box again, and inside of it is a General Tso's chicken dinner order. General Tso's chicken, white rice, and an egg roll. He froze and looked at me. I looked back at him and we sat in silence. It took us 5 or so minutes to collect ourselves. Neither of us have any idea what happened or how it's even possible that they switched the way they did, but we both know for sure that's not what was in the boxes. Okay, so this is not creepy, but it's so vivid and distinct that I still think about it years later. I had a long, involved dream where I was a vendor in a fish market. I remember getting up early, dressing, doing the whole morning routine, going to get tea, heading out to the docks, buying fish, loading them in a cart, getting the ice, even haggling for the ice. Buying some less fresh fish while I was at it also. Then going to a market, to my stall, setting up and selling fish all day. It was so real. I talked to friends, smoked nasty cigarettes, haggled customers, ate lunch, had tea, and just lived through the day. At the end of the day, I cleaned up, counted my cash, paid the stall rent, went home and cooked some of the fish I hadn't sold, put them in with the vegetables and the rice that I'd traded for. I drank more tea and relaxed for a while. Then I drew a hot bath and soaked and smoked some more cigarettes, and then I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up refreshed, ready to go down to the docks to buy fresh catch. Except I was in my house next to my wife. Truck parked outside as it was Saturday. No work. My wife and I were getting geared up to go skiing in Oregon, and the car was already packed. The weird thing was, in the dream I was single and a smoker, which I'm not. And the whole long dream had been in fluent Chinese. The effortless kind of fluency that only comes from a lifetime of speaking it. Oh yeah, and I also had been Chinese. But I'm a big, hairy white dude, somewhat fluent in Spanish, and I know a little bit of Russian, but I never, ever spoke Chinese. It was just weird. I've never worked in a fish market. It was so real, it makes me wonder who I was. I wonder what the entire thing was. So real, I know I was standing there. Over the years, it's become much less of a dream and more of a real memory. I know I was there that day. I don't know what dimension I was in or what I was doing there, but I know that I was there. I was in Paris on Christmas Eve, doing a Kontiki tour at what was a nightclub. Absolutely blackout drunk, and I jumped in a taxi with one of the girls from the tour. She came up to me in the morning, telling me that she was so impressed I spoke my French so fluently. After that, I told her I didn't know how to speak French. She told me I had a 30-minute conversation in fluent French with the taxi driver. I was so blown away, and she was so adamant that it happened. Now, days later, we did run into that taxi driver who spoke the French to me, and was also apparently amazed and agreeing that I for certain spoke beautiful French. Apparently, I can speak French when I'm blackout drunk. I knew my uncle had died. My mom had called me and told me the news. It was very sad. She told me in the middle of work, and I told one of my coworkers. He expressed his condolences on my loss. A couple weeks later, my sister mentioned my aunt and uncle doing something. I said, "But he's dead." And my sister said, "No, he wasn't." I immediately called my mom, and to my surprise, no, he wasn't dead. I immediately called my coworker. "Did I really talk to you?" Apparently I did. He remembered the phone conversation with my mom and the conversation I had. It still freaks me out knowing that either two people could fabricate such a complete memory, or that it happened in another world. This happened to my dad, so it's not exactly a personal story. Anyway, my dad was driving down a long, lonely highway in Ohio, doing about 90 in a Z28 with a radar detector. Rolling hills and whatnot meant that cops could hide at the bottom before you could see them and ever have a chance to slow down. So, all of a sudden his radar detector starts blaring, and he slams on the brakes. Sure enough, right over the hill there's a squad car running radar. Now, obviously he was super relieved, but when he looked at the detector, it's not even on the windshield, not even on the dashboard. It was completely unplugged and in the glove compartment. I was catching a sky train in one particular city about 15 minutes from where I get off. While I wait, there's a woman with glazed eyes asking people for money. She came up to me, stopped briefly, and she asked, "Excuse me, could you spare some money? My brother is in the hospital, and I'd like some money to buy him some flowers." Well, that's rich, I thought. Drug addicts are getting more and more obvious with their lines. "Here's $5, I said. Gave it to her without even looking her in the face, convinced of her intentions. As she walked away, I got a really good look at her. I looked her up and down, and made a mental note to avoid her if I saw her in the future. Anyways, my train pulls up and I get on. I look through the glass at her walking around asking others for money as the train pulls away. The train arrives at the station about 15 minutes later, and I walk down and out to the bus stop. Now there's only one bus in the direction I'm going, and just my luck, it was there waiting when I got off the train. So on the bus, I hop and wait for the bus driver to finish reading his paper before the doors close and we embark down the highway. After about 5 to 10 minutes of traveling, the driver pulled over for a routine stop. The doors open, and to my complete astonishment, the woman from the SkyTrain walks onto the bus, a dozen roses in her hand. She looks me right in the eyes as she walks past and takes her seat. How in the blue hell did she even get there? I took the train before her. I watched her at the train stop from inside as we pulled away. I went over a river. I then caught the first and only bus going in this particular direction. And not only did she beat me there, but she had time to go to a store and buy a dozen roses. To this day, I have no idea how this was even possible. A little backstory. I was a total idealist back in high school, so when choosing a college, I chose to go somewhere that none of my friends were attending, so that I could strike out on my own in a finding myself sort of way. Well, I ended up making a few really close friends my first semester. I mean, these guys became like family to me in a matter of months. One day during winter break, one of those guys, who was my buddy Kimbo, had gone back home to visit friends and family, and on his return trip to college, he hit a bad patch of ice and got into a car accident, and was killed. It hurt like a bitch for a long time, and I still think about him all the time. But anyway, a few weeks after Kimbo's accident, me and the rest of the guys were getting back from a party off campus, and as we were standing outside our dorm building smoking a cigarette, I felt my phone vibrating, and when I pulled it out, I saw I was getting a call from Kimbo's phone. Dumbfounded, I showed my friends the phone quickly, and then I answered it. When I picked up, it just went directly to his voicemail, which played the same message it always had. It never happened again, and we never really talked about it, but for me it was one of those someone's looking after me type moments. I hadn't been doing very well after his death, but seeing his name show up on my cell phone screen one final time made me feel a whole lot better for a time and really helped me get out of the slump I was in. I have no idea how this phone could have possibly rang with his number, and I doubt I ever will, but this was one of those glitch in the matrix type moments that I will forever be thankful for. Rest in peace, Kim, but feel free to call again. When I was like 10 or 11, I was going to the beach with my aunt and her friends. There were 2 cars of us. To get there, we had to go through a very large industrial area. We didn't know the direction, so our car was following the other. Suddenly, they took an unexpected turn, and our driver had to take a sharp bend. In that moment, we heard a very clear, loud voice inside the car say, laughing, "Sharp bend, hmm?" The driver immediately hit the brakes. We looked at each other puzzled. We all recognized it as a voice not belonging to any of us. And we noticed that the other car had stopped as well. The other driver got out of the car with a scared face and shouted to us, Did you guys hear that?" They heard the very same thing inside their car. The area around us was fully deserted for probably miles, but at least as far as we could see. This happened in central Italy in the early 90s. My aunt used to act at the time, and most of the other guys were theater actors. The voice scared the shit out of us because it was so very clear and near, but not coming from a direction within the car that we could distinguish. Not the front, not the rear, inside the car, but from no distinct place. It was like it was mocking us. We were scared, but remember, those were comedy actors used to doing any sort of strange voices. This, till we noticed the other car stopping and saw the look of the guy driving that car. They were all as scared as us and told us we heard this scary voice inside our car. And they told us the exact same words that we heard. We were there, in a hot day, under the sun in an area with large streets and absolutely nothing, and no one around us. No cars, no people, no building. To this day, none of us have any idea what that voice was. As I type this, I am already feeling deja vu. I've always wanted to share this part of my life with someone, but I've never been able to. So, I'll just tell a bunch of people on the internet. One day I was walking to work, and all of a sudden had an urge to walk a different path than usual. I work downtown in a big city. It was a strange spur-of-the-moment urge to walk a different way that has changed my life forever. I turned into an alley I had never seen before. As I remember it, I made it about 15 feet or so when an actual glitch happened. Everything in my mind scrambled. I felt like I didn't have a body anymore, just that I was a semi-conscious entity floating through some weird dimension. All of a sudden, in the array of different colors and shapes, a vision came to me. It was a bunch of strange people that, in my mind, resembled businessmen in suits. They looked startled and panicked that I could see them. One of the people made a quick movement and everything turned to black. When I regained normality, I was on a completely different street. It was the same street that I always used to walk to work. I felt sick and severely disturbed and depressed. I've never done any hard drugs, never experienced hallucinations, never have had anything like this happen to me. The weird thing is, when the glitch was correcting itself and I could see those people watching me like a caged animal, I had the feeling that I knew I was being controlled. It still bothers me very much to this day. I know it happened. I know it was real. I just don't know what it was. Alright guys, that's everything we have tonight. Please click the subscribe, support the channel. If you liked anything, click the like. Definitely don't forget to hit that bell icon so you don't miss a single episode just like this.